Welcome back to English for Devs, the podcast that helps developers level up their communication and confidence in English. In today's episode, we're bringing one of the most powerful tools for job interviews, the STAR method. Okay, let's dive in. You know those interview questions? The ones that start, "Tell me about a time when," or maybe, "Describe how you handled."
Oh yeah, the behavioral ones.
Exactly. They're designed to make you think on your feet under pressure. And that feeling, scrambling for a good story right then and there, it can really mess up an otherwise solid interview.
It really can, because they're not asking for what you would do. They want proof, specific examples of what you did. If you end up rambling or focus too much on just the problem itself,
You lose your chance to shine.
precisely. So our mission today is to equip you with, well, basically the best tool for this, the STAR method. It's how you get really good, really fast at giving clear, powerful answers that actually show what you can do.
We've basically gone through a whole stack of resources, prep guides, interview manuals, you name it, and boiled it all down. We're doing a deep dive into STAR. That's situation, task, action, result. So if you've ever felt your answers in those moments sound a bit vague or just unstructured, this is for you. We're turning those general ideas into solid proof. And the interesting thing is, STAR isn't just for you. It's like a standard, professional way to tell a story. It actually makes the interviewer's job easier.
How so?
Well, it gives them a really clear four-part structure to follow. When you answer using STAR, they can mentally tick off their boxes. Okay, got the context, understand the goal, see the action, know the result. It helps move you along in their process.
Got it. So it cuts through the fluff and gets straight to the evidence. Okay, let's break down those four parts then, because the details for each letter, STAR, are pretty important for making an answer great, not just good.
Right. Let's start with S for situation. This is the setup, the context. And the absolute key thing here that we saw everywhere is it has to be a specific event.
Not general.
Not general at all.
Right.
So many candidates slip up here. They say something like, "Well, in my retail job, I often handle tricky customers." That's a pattern, not a specific situation.
That's a really good point. So instead of, "When I worked retail," it should be more like, "Okay, so it was October 15th, the morning rush was starting, and bam, the main cash register system went down, and I was the only manager there."
Exactly. You're painting a picture of one specific moment. And remember, you don't have to limit yourself to paid jobs here. It could be from coursework, volunteer work, maybe a club activity, as long as it's relevant to the skill they're asking about.
Okay, situation set. What's next?
Next up is T for task. This one's pretty straightforward. What was the goal? What needed to get done in that specific situation you just described?
So in the cash register example, the task was probably getting it back online fast, right? While also managing the line of people getting annoyed.
Precisely. Define the objective clearly.
Okay, now this next one, A for action. This feels like the core of it. The guides we looked at all seem to agree this is the most critical step. Why is that?
It's critical because this is where the focus absolutely must be on you. What did you specifically do?
The contribution part.
Yes. Interviewers are actively listening for this. They want to understand your individual agency, your initiative. It's not about just being part of a team effort.
And the big rule here?
Use the word I, not we. This came up again and again. That sounds simple, but I can see how it'd be hard, especially if you're naturally collaborative. Why is I so important? Because the interviewer is trying to figure out who they are hiring. If you say, "We called IT and we fixed the system," they still don't know your specific role. Did you make the call? Did you troubleshoot first? Did you manage the customers while someone else called?
I see. So you need to describe the steps you took, the decisions you made.
Exactly. Your specific contribution. That's how you show leadership, problem solving, whatever the skill is, even if it was a group project.
Okay, that makes total sense. So situation, task, action focused on I, which brings us to the payoff. R for result. Describe what happened. And the guides suggest you shouldn't be shy about taking credit here.
Absolutely not. You need to clearly state the outcome. And often, it's good to look for multiple positive results if they exist.
Multiple? Like what?
Well, maybe you fix the register system, sure. But perhaps you also calmed down waiting customers so effectively that satisfaction scores for that day stayed high. Or maybe you documented the fix and created a quick guide for the team for next time.
Ah, those secondary benefits.
Right. Interviewers often dig for those, so be ready to offer them up. It shows broader impact.
And quantification seems key here too. Numbers matter.
Hugely. Don't just say, we improved things. Say, we increased sales by 15% in 6 months. Or, I cut down the error rate by 10% after implementing the new checklist. Numbers, percentages, money saved, that makes your result concrete and much more impressive.
Okay, numbers are powerful. But what about those tricky questions? Like, tell me about a time you failed. Can STAR still work if the result wasn't, sunshine and roses?
That's a great question, and yes, absolutely. The sources generally agree here. Even if the initial outcome was negative, say we didn't win the contract, the result part of your story can still be strong. You focus on what you learned or how you adapted. So, the result might be, we didn't win the contract, but based on the feedback, I identified a gap in our proposal process. I then developed a new template and training module, which we used for the next bid, and that one we did win. The growth, the learning, that's the positive result in that context.
Okay, so the result can be about the learning and improvement, not just the immediate outcome. That's a helpful distinction.
Definitely. It shows self-awareness and resilience.
So, nailing that result, especially with quantification or lessons learned, really requires having your examples thought out beforehand. You can't just wing that level of detail.
Exactly right. Just trying to brainstorm this stuff during the interview leads to weaker, less polished answers. Which brings us nicely to the preparation strategy.
The prep guides seem to have a system for this.
They do, and it's actually quite efficient. You don't need like 20 different stories ready. The recommendation is to prepare 5 core success stories. Just 5.
Only 5? How does that cover everything?
Because these 5 are chosen strategically to be flexible. They cover the most common types of behavioral questions. Having these 5 prepped saves a ton of time and ensures they're high quality, with results already thought through and quantified where possible.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these 5 essential story types?
All right. The 5 key areas you should prepare a STAR story for are 1. An accomplishment you're genuinely proud of. This shows your drive and competence.
Okay, number 1, accomplishment. 2, a time you went above and beyond what was expected. This highlights initiative.
Got it. Above and beyond. 3. A conflict situation that you resolved successfully. This demonstrates your communication and people skills.
Conflict resolution. Number 3.
4. A significant challenge you faced and overcame. This proves your resilience and adaptability.
Challenge overcome. Makes sense.
And finally, number 5. A mistake you made, but importantly, what you learned from it. This shows accountability and your capacity for growth.
Accomplishment. Going the extra mile. Resolving conflict. Overcoming challenges and learning from mistakes. That really does cover a lot of ground, doesn't it?
It does. With those 5 polished stories in your back pocket, you can likely adapt one of them to fit almost any behavioral question they throw at you. Teamwork, leadership, failure, initiative, whatever.
So, first step is identifying potential stories for these 5 categories. Where do you start brainstorming?
You want to think about recent experiences first. Look at situations from coursework, internships, jobs, leadership roles, even significant team projects. Think about times you demonstrated positive behaviors in areas like initiative, teamwork, planning, maybe customer interaction or leadership. Cast a wide net initially.
Get a bunch of potential stories down, but then you have to choose the best 5, right? There must be some kind of filter.
Exactly. Quality control is crucial. The sources provide a sort of checklist for selecting your strongest examples. This is really important for listeners to apply.
Okay, let's break down that checklist. What should you be looking for? What makes a story worth circling?
You're looking for stories that are, first, clearly related to skills relevant to the job. Prioritize examples with those concrete, quantifiable results we talked about.
Numbers again. Always helps.
Look for positive outcomes, even if it started rough. The story needs to end well or with significant positive learning. And honestly, pick stories you actually feel good about telling. A little bit of enthusiasm helps.
Okay, so related, quantifiable, positive ending, and something you like talking about. Now, what about the flip side? What should you immediately cross out or avoid?
Definitely avoid stories that are more personal than professional. Keep the focus on work-related or analogous situations, like school projects or volunteer leadership.
Makes sense. What else?
There's a strong consensus on avoiding high school examples if you're, say, over 21 or applying for a professional role. Prioritize college and work experience.
Wait, hang on. Why no high school stories? What if someone did something genuinely impressive back then? Like managed a big budget for a club?
It's less about whether the experience itself was valid and more about demonstrating current maturity and recent accomplishments. Relying on stories from years ago can unintentionally signal that you haven't faced significant challenges or achieved comparable results more recently.
Ah, okay. So it's a signal about your current level of professional development, not just the skill itself.
Exactly. It's about showing recent relevance and growth.
Got it. Any other red flags for stories to avoid?
Yes, a big one related to tone. Cross out any story where you still sound bitter, angry, or like you're holding a grudge. You know, the story where you're clearly still thinking your old boss owed you an apology.
Right. That wouldn't sound very professional or objective.
Not at all. It undermines the story no matter how good the action or result was. Keep the tone positive and constructive.
So, summarizing the rules for picking stories. Be honest, always. Be specific. One detailed event, not generalizations. And try to vary your examples. Don't pull all 5 stories from the same internship or project.
That's a perfect summary. Diversify your proof.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Can we walk through an example using the STAR structure? You mentioned an advertising revenue one.
Yeah, that's a classic example. Let's break it down.
Okay, so S, situation. Let's say advertising revenue was dropping at the college newspaper I worked for. We were losing some long-time advertisers who felt they weren't getting enough value. Pretty specific problem. Good.
Now, T, task. What was the objective?
The clear goal was to turn that around. We needed new ideas and materials to win back advertisers and attract new ones, aiming for at least, say, a 15% increase compared to the previous year.
Okay, clear task. Now the crucial part. A for action. Remember, use I.
Right. Okay, so I took the lead on creating a new promotional packet that highlighted readership demographics and value. I also researched competitor rates and circulation to show our advantages. And I arranged a special training workshop for our ad sales team with a business school professor on effective selling techniques.
Perfect. See how clear your individual contributions are? Now, our result. What happened?
Well, the result was great. We managed to re-sign contracts with 15 previous advertisers, bringing them back. And even better, I helped increase the number of new advertisers by 20% compared to the same time last year, which actually beat our 15% goal.
Boom! That's a fantastic STAR answer. Specific situation, clear task, I-focused actions, and quantified positive results. Hits all the marks.
And you mentioned quantification for results being key. Another quick example, maybe?
Sure. Let's say the question was about meeting a deadline under pressure. For the result, instead of just, we launched the product on time, you'd say something like, the product launched successfully on schedule, and we actually ended up exceeding our initial sales targets by 20% in the first quarter.
That extra number makes it much stronger.
Definitely adds impact.
So, once you have your 5 core stories drafted using STAR, the next step is practicing linking them to common questions. The sources listed quite a few typical behavioral prompts. Listeners should think about how their 5 stories could fit these.
Yes, that's the key linkage.
For example, describe a time when you had too many things to do and were required to prioritize your tasks. Which of your 5 stories fits that? Probably the challenge overcome one, right?
Could be, or maybe even the above and beyond one,
Right.
if the prioritization led to exceptional results.
Okay, or how about, what is your typical way of dealing with conflict? Give me an example.
That maps directly to your prepared conflict resolution story.
Give me an example of when you showed initiative and took the lead.
That could pull from your accomplishment story, or maybe the above and beyond one again. See how they're flexible?
Yeah, I see how one story could potentially answer a couple of different types of questions, with just a slight tweak in emphasis.
That's the efficiency of the 5-story system.
So, wrapping up the core value here, the STAR method really just stops you from rambling, doesn't it? It forces structure.
It absolutely does. It moves you away from those vague answers and ensures you're hitting all the points the interviewer needs: the context, the goal, your actions, and the results. It gives you a framework, and honestly, that structure breeds confidence.
Okay, so you've put in the work. You've brainstormed, selected your best 5 stories using the quality checklist, drafted them out using STAR. But the sources emphasized one final, crucial step that often gets overlooked. It's not just about having the stories, it's about the delivery.
Ah, yes, the performance aspect. This is where practice comes in, and it's often neglected.
So, what's the key advice there?
Well, after you've drafted your stories, definitely let them sit overnight. Reread and revise with fresh eyes. Practice saying them out loud, maybe even in front of a mirror. But the real game changer recommendation we saw?
Let me guess. Record yourself.
You got it. Use your phone. Record yourself telling each of your 5-star stories.
Why is hearing yourself so important?
Because you'll catch things you simply won't notice otherwise. Does your tone sound genuinely positive and confident, or maybe a little flat? Do you start strong, but then kind of trail off or ramble in the action part? Did you forget to mention that key statistic in the result?
Yeah, I can see how hearing it back would reveal awkward phrasing, or maybe where you sound unsure.
Exactly. That self-awareness, that ability to hear yourself as an interviewer might hear you, is what lets you fine-tune the delivery. It helps you smooth out the bumps, ensure your key points land, and ultimately deliver that carefully crafted story with real conviction when it counts. That's the final polish. Well, that's all for today. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps more developers like you discover the podcast. Thanks for listening to English for Devs. See you in the next episode.